Good evening, old gun guy here. I'm going to do a quick little video on the 357 Sig. Is it really a 357 Magnum automatic? In one loading it is. It pretty much duplicates the 357 Magnum. Before I go into anything, the two cartridges here we're going to test is the 357 Magnum. The parent to this is the 38 Special, and the 357 Sig. The parent to this is the 40 Smith & Wesson cartridge. This was developed in 1935. 357 thousandths of an inch projectile. It's basically, they elongated a 38 Special case and loaded it to twice the pressure. Very useful cartridge. Pretty versatile too. The cases, if you notice, this is from the black powder era. It's parent, so you need a lot of case volume. That's why the 357 has a long case. But basically, this shortened case contains all the propellant to basically duplicate the 125 grain loading. The two ammunition I'm going to use, Remington UMC, just a value pack, 125 grain jacketed hollow point. And I have some Underwood 357 Sig, 124 grain jacketed hollow point. It says 1475 on the box, so I don't know what they shot that out of, but that's the velocity they claim. We'll run it over the chronograph and see what happens. Just quickly, the 357 Magnum descended from the 38 Special, came out in 1935. The efforts of Elmer Keith wanted to have a souped up 38 Special for hunting, so they come out the experimenting. They came out with the 357 Magnum 1935, 90 years ago. Okay, this camera just does that once in a while. It shuts off and was repairing my file. Law enforcement request 1994. They come out with this. It's the efforts of Federal and Sig Federal ammunition, and well-designed cartridge. They basically neck down a 40 Smith & Wesson case to 9mm, and it's got quite a lot of velocity. Very unusual in a modern era having bottleneck pistol cartridge case. Militaries over the last century have had bottlenecked cartridges. Probably the most well known is the Tokarev 7.62 Tokarev, but it never caught on with the civilian shooting public. And it is an excellent cartridge, excellent defensive handgun cartridge. Recoil is not obnoxious. Very flat shooting, very powerful round, as we'll see in the tests. So you're talking 30 years ago, or 31 years ago, to come out with this. And it's kind of petering out. There's only a few federal law enforcement agencies that use it, and perhaps some around the country. The 357 Sig. It's a shame. It's a good cartridge. As a consequence, the ammunition's expensive because they don't produce a whole lot of it, and a lot of boutique ammunition, like this Underwood, high performance ammunition. This is the only 357 I had, the value pack, and it's actually good ammo. I've shot it before and tested it before. The soft point version and the hollow point in 125 grain. The two firearms is a Glock, a compact version. This is a Model 23. Model 23 is 40 Smith & Wesson. The Sig caliber, I forget the model designation, it's the identical gun. If you want to convert any 40 Smith & Wesson to 357 Sig, all you need is a barrel. That's it. Magazine's the same, everything's the same. I'm going to shoot it against a 4-inch barreled Colt Trooper. My Colt Trooper here. If you look from the front of the cylinder over the chamber, they're both 4-inch barrels. The semi-auto loses about 3/4 of an inch of barrel because the chamber is included in the barrel. In a revolver, the chambers are separate in the cylinder, so you get a full 4 inches of barrel. But that's about as close you're going to get to semi-automatic. The Colt Trooper 6-shot revolver, and you have double that, or more than double that. This is 13 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber. If you carry it, totally 14 rounds of ammunition. In the larger, the full-size version, the Glock 22, and the Sig variant, I don't even know if they're still making it, but it escapes me the number they assigned. That's 15 in one, so you hit 16 shots. But this is the compact version. It's identical to the Glock 19, very popular carry handgun. You know, frame-wise, slide-wise, just the caliber's different. And the Sig, they made, like the 40 Smith & Wesson, fit into the design envelope of, you know, the more compact gun. As a consequence, because they have length restrictions, it was really designed around 124, 125 grain jacketed hollow point. That's basically, you can load 147s in there, but its sweet spot, it was designed to duplicate the famous law enforcement 125 jacketed hollow point loads that proved effective, you know, in police use against bad guys over the 20th century. So I'm only going to do 3 shooting tests. I'm going to do a comparative recoil thing, the 2 pistols. Something to keep in mind, this weighs 21 ounces, this weighs 40 ounces, nearly double the weight. So with mass, lessens the, you know, felt recoil on your hand. Do the chronograph testing, and I already did the chronograph testing earlier today when I had sun, and this camera acted up. I thought it shut off, but I did the test twice. I did 2 shots, 357 mag, 357 Sig, and then I repeated it because I thought that this camera shut off. So when you see the video, you'll see just the 2 and 2 with this camera on me. The close-up on the chronograph, I included all 4 shot strings. And if you're following suit, or following it, the first shot, you know, first string is 357 Sig, 2 and 3 are the 357 Magnum, and the 4th string is the 357 Sig again. And when I do the data, the velocity and energy, the compilation at the end, I'll include all 4 shots. I'm going to do a terminal effects test, 4 jugs of water, 3/4 inch piece of plywood after the first jug, and we're going to do the identical test with both rounds. 357 Magnum first, I'll believe, and then I'll follow it up with the Sig. You know, clean the table up and I'll include that, and then I'll be back for the summary or observations or anything, any other commentary I may have. So I'll get to the shooting portion now. Okay, gonna do a quick chronograph test, velocity, 357 Sig, 124 grain Underwood, jacketed hollow point. Box says 1475 feet per second, we shall see. I'm gonna do 2 shots, it was almost expensive. I'm gonna do 2 shots of the Remington UMC 125 grain jacketed hollow point 357 Magnum 4-inch barrel. Both guns have a 4-inch barrel. Throw my ears on and take the shots. Looks like 14-14. And 1381. I'm gonna go get the 357 Magnum, and okay, I got the Colt Trooper, 357 Magnum 4-inch barrel. These are the Remington 125 grain jacketed hollow points, UMC. We'll see what they do. Just my bare hands. Sold on a Colt goes clockwise from the viewed from the rear. All right, 2 shots. $15.08. And $15.19. That's pretty hot, that Remington. That'll be it for the little velocity comparison. I'm going to do a terminal effects test, both ammunitions, the water jugs. I'll set that up. Looks like 14-14. 1381. I'm going to go get the 357 Magnum and repeat it. Let me change the string. Ooh, ice. $15.08. And $15.19. That's pretty hot, that Remington. That'll be it for the little velocity comparison. I'm going to do a terminal effects test, both ammunitions, the water jugs. I'll set that up. 124 grain jacketed hollow point underwood ammo, and the Remington 357 Magnum, 125 grain jacketed hollow point. Kind of apples to apples, both 4-inch barrel guns. I'll do the Colt Trooper first, 2 shots, and I'll change the string. $14.89 and $14.84. Okay. Switch the string. And a Glock 23 with the 357 Sig barrel, 4-inch. $14.08 or $1400. And $14.19. That'll be our velocity chronograph comparison. We're going to go to the terminal effects next. Okay, I'm going to do a little quick comparative recoil test, close up. 357 Sig, a 4-inch barreled Glock 23 versus the 4-inch barreled Colt Trooper 357 Magnum. First up will be the Glock. Get close up, 2 shots. Just get the gun, yeah. That's 2 with the Glock, 357 Sig, 124 grain jacketed hollow point. Now the Colt Trooper. And that'll be our little comparative recoil with 2 very similar firearms and loads, different genres though. Okay, you can do a terminal effects test. First up is the Colt Trooper 4-inch 357 Magnum, Remington 125 grain jacketed hollow point. 4 water jugs, 24 inches of water in total, 6 inches of water, 3/4 inch piece of plywood, simulate heavy bone. Another water jug, witness board. It's been shot before but marked. Actually, all the boards have been shot before and been marked. 3rd jug of water. You got another 3/4 inch piece of plywood, and then the 4th jug of water. We'll see how this comes out. Let me just set the other camera running and take the shot. Right, looks like we're running. Try and get me in here without getting wet. Well, that wasn't too successful. Got wet anyway. All right, let me clean this up and all right, went in there, massive energy dump. Just put a divot in the plywood. Very much like the 38 did, not much difference, although it's running twice the velocity. There's the projectile. It was laying on the table, fully expanded. I'll have to weigh it and clean this mess up, and we'll redo it with the 357 Sig 124 jacket hollow point. Okay, back for the second terminal effects test. Underwood ammo, 124 grain, jacketed hollow point, 357 Sig, 4-inch Glock. Got both the cameras running. Take the shot and we'll see what we find out. Oh, got dosed again. Let me clean this up and okay, got a different result. First jug, nice center hit, blew it to smithereens. I had the plywood reversed. This side was facing the gun. The bullet stuck in the plywood. Blew out the whole back, but it didn't exit. However, that bulge there ripped a hole in the second jug and all the water was leaking out of it. So actually a little more penetration than the 357. 357, you got 100 feet a second on it too. 357 Magnum, I should say, over the Sig. But I'll cover that in a brief follow-up. Okay, I'm back from my little 357 Sig caliber video. Just a quick little video comparison to the venerable 357 Magnum. The 357 Sig is 31 years old. The 357 Magnum is 90 years old. Came after. But in this format here, 125 and 124 grain projectiles, it's essentially the same, basically the same power level. Did the chronograph test. Camera hadn't, I thought it didn't record the first time, so I did the test twice. I only have the introduction with the camera on me once, you know, firing 2 shots and 2 shots, but I included all 4 shots in both the film and the chronograph data. And just to restate, string 1 and 4 with the 357 Sig, string 2 and 3 with the 357 Magnum. And these are the velocity and energy figures. I did all 4 shots. So the 357 Sig, 124 grain jacket hollow point underwood. The velocity was 1,402 feet a second and 541 foot-pounds of energy. The 357 Magnum Remington green and white box, 125 grain jacketed hollow point. Velocity was very nice, 1499 at average, and the energy translated to 624 foot-pounds. That's about triple of a 38 special. It's you know, a quantum step up in power for the same calibers, basically. Basically, in the 125 grain loading, you have a 13 or 14 shot in this format 357 Magnum. Did a comparative recoil. This firearm weighs half of what the Colt weighs. This is 40 ounces, this is 21 ounces. The felt recoil on my hand is more with this. It's probably discernible in the video slightly. This looks like it rocks back a little bit more. It's not unmanageable, it's not painful. Any healthy individual can learn to handle and fire that firearm quite accurately and competently. The main thing with a revolver chamber is the cylinder. You got full 4 inches of barrel. This has a full 4-inch barrel, same length. However, this much of the barrel is taken up by the round in the chamber. So essentially, you're firing a 357 Sig out of a 3 1/4 inch barrel, even though it's a 4-inch barrel. but they're very, very close. The 357 Magnum eked it out by almost 100 feet per second velocity and about 80 foot-pounds of energy. I'm just off the top of my head. But the main advantage to the 357 is versatility with bullet weights and other applications like hunting or target shooting, plinking. Obviously, can you shoot or target shoot with the 357 Sig? Absolutely. Its primary intent was a self-defense cartridge and self-defense round, and it's really only one bullet weight, although they're loading 147s in this, but it was designed for the 125 to duplicate the famous 125 grain 357 Magnum load. Did the thermal effects test. The first I did was the Remington 125 JHP 357 out of the Colt, and blew up the first jug, expanded very nicely, struck the plywood there and put a divot in it, and it was laying on the table. The projectile is right here, kind of folded in on itself. Let me see if I can grab it with the little forceps here. Expanded to 56 caliber at its widest point, 560 thousandths of an inch. The retained weight though is 81.4 grains, because I weighed it. 81.4 grains out of the 125 it started out with. So some of the bullet was lost. Next up, the Sig. Blew up the water jug, punched deep into the plywood, and was in the plywood. It bulged out the back, broke the plywood. I had to dig the projectile out of the plywood, and when it came out of the plywood, then it separated. The jacket separated off the base, but the weight of these two parts here is 104.1 grains out of 124 grains, so I lost 27 grains. The jacket was attached to the lead until it fell out of the wood, so it held together pretty good. Both had very, violent expansion. Both of them would serve as in a self-defense or defensive handgun role quite well. The venerable 357 Magnum in that loading has a long history and a good reputation, and I think that's what Sig and Federal achieved with their modern version of it, and a very fine handgun. The reason why semi-autos have eclipsed revolvers is the reliability. There is just about as reliable as a revolver in most aspects, and the larger ammunition capacity. Standard for this size gun is 13, and if you get the full size Glock or one of the other makers, 15 shots. Basically, it's just a neck down 40 Smith & Wesson, and I actually like it better than 40 Smith & Wesson. I like 9, I like 45. I am not a fan of the 40. I'll go into that some other time. It's an okay cartridge, but I think this one is a much better one. That's just my personal opinion. Did the comparative recoil, just a quick little test, quick little video. The conditions ain't really conducive to filming anything really longer than this, but I thought it'd be interesting to compare the old 357 Magnum versus the new, or relatively new, 357 Sig, and is the 125 grain 357 Sig the equivalent of the 125 357 Magnum? In my opinion, yes, it is, and either one will serve you well in a defensive role. Obviously, the 357 Magnum is a lot more versatile due to the different type of bullets it can use and the different bullet weights. So, I'm Old Gun Guy. That's all I got for tonight. Have a good evening.